Hi, my name is Katie Gerfen. I'm a senior editor with Architect Magazine. And I am here today with Phillip Freelon, president of the Freelon Group Architects in Durham, North Carolina. We're here to talk a little bit about some of the work that you have going on in our nation's capital here in Washington, D.C. And you have the distinction of doing one of the biggest projects that's going on the National Mall right now, and a lot of eyes are on it. I'd love to talk to you about the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Well, thank you for inviting me up, and that is a great project. I would say a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, actually.
Well, what state is that, or what is the sort of stage of design that you all are in for that project, and what is the schedule that is sort of anticipated?
Well, we're still in design, and it's what you call a fast-track project because we've broken ground, and there's work on the site. We're building the slurry wall sub-foundation system while we are finishing the construction documents. So we're overlapping and telescoping construction and design. And we should be finished with construction documents this fall.
Fantastic. Well, I'm interested. I mean, it is a moment that we're at right now with the design for the National Mall. There's been the recent announcements of competitions won for other sites on the mall, and it seems as though we've sort of come to a moment of a different approach for design for that federal space and for that monumental space. Can you tell me about some of the things that you have been experiencing and some of the ways that you approach designing for that kind of hallowed ground?
Well, I think that's right. There are a lot of new things going on with the recent 3 projects for landscape work in and around the mall. But there are also traditional elements of the mall that are coming back. The reflecting pond is going to be back in operation pretty much the way it was designed from the beginning. And so it really is an interesting blend of respecting the design and the tradition of the mall architecture and the monuments around, while infusing modern design in the new buildings and landscapes that will be folded into that. So it's a balancing act.
And can you tell me about some of the things that are going on? You mentioned you're still in design, fast-tracked, obviously, for the museum itself. But can you tell me some of the ways that you were approaching design for that museum and for that site?
Well, it's a collaboration, and there are 4 architectural firms, if you can imagine that. The team is called Freelon, Ajay Bond, and the Smith Group. The acronym is FABS, so we're the FABS team. And David Ajay, the Tanzanian-born British architect, is the lead designer, a wonderful talent. And so with the building of this complexity, this size, the team is really working well together. And we have been looking for a way, and we believe we found it, of commemorating the African-American experience in this country and celebrating that, while telling the stories, some of them difficult, and doing it in a way that respects the importance of the site. And it's in a location that is absolutely pivotal on the mall. The transition between the orthogonal geometry of the mall itself and then the more bucolic, organic forms of the Washington Monument grounds. And so we're right at the knuckle, the hinge point. And the building is sited, and the site design by Gustafson Associates is also very sensitive to its location.
That's great. One of the things, I mean, you mentioned sort of the transitions of types of place on the National Mall, but it's also an interesting point because people think so often when they think of Washington, D.C., of the National Mall itself and of that kind of federal space. But there is the rest of this district, the rest of the city, that people are kind of living in as a vibrant and thriving city. And you've had the opportunity with your firm to do a significant amount of work in the District of Columbia as well. Can you tell me about some of the other projects that you have going on?
Yes, we've recently completed 2 branch libraries for the Washington, D.C. library system. One for Tenley Friendship neighborhood and the other for Anacostia. And the programs were identical. And what's exciting for us is that the sites and the surrounding context of these 2 projects are so different, they generated totally different schemes. They couldn't be more in contrast in terms of the architecture and how it blends with the appropriate surroundings. And so this gave us an intro into the process of moving projects through the Washington, D.C. regulatory environment, which includes the National Capital Planning Commission, the Commission of Fine Arts, and in some cases the mall, grounds. And so there are a lot of eyes on projects when you get in close to the monumental core.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, one of the things that I've been noticing over the past couple of years living in DC myself is that it is definitely a city in transition. And some of the neighborhoods that you have been working in have also been experiencing that. So can you tell me a little bit about how your office is designing these libraries to be sort of more than just branch libraries, to be catalyst spaces?
Well, to begin with, we really engage the community. There's a process of involving the stakeholders, and so even before design begins, we want to know what's important to the community, and we want to have that interaction. And so we see those neighborhoods as hands-on participants in the design process. So as we engage the community, it gives us clues as to where to head with the design. And we also see that these branch libraries in particular are more than just what we think of traditionally as a library where you go and check out books. They become community centers. There are spaces there that are accessible off hours, evenings and weekends, where the communities can have meetings and other functions. And we know that these have become more vibrant, almost community centers, and not just libraries. And these new buildings have become also a source of pride for the community, and they look after them. They take care of these these new centers of activity, and so it's become really much more than just books, as we traditionally think about libraries.
Absolutely. And do you think that's a trend? I mean, obviously, it's not a trend that's just unique to DC itself. It seems to be something that's going on around the country, and in fact, more broadly even than that. It's something that a lot of municipalities are spending money on this particular typology and passing bond measures and really moving to look at the branch library as kind of a new form of this communal space. Do you think now that the two have been open, how have they been sort of interacting with the community, and have you gotten good responses from them as sort of those catalyzing moments? Yes.
The first part of your question was about the trend maybe nationally, and that's very true. We're seeing it all over the country. And as D.C. is kind of a hub of a national discussion about all sorts of things, including libraries. So we've had visits from the various library associations who come and look at these and try and figure out what is good about them that can be replicated in other locations. And so yes, it is a national trend. And I can recall 15 or 20 years ago, as the internet was coming on, people worried that libraries would become irrelevant. Why go to the library? You can get anything you want on the internet, but there's certain things you cannot get, through that technology, the interaction. And let's remember that there are lots of folks that don't have computers in their home, and we see a lot of activity where community members are coming in and interacting with that technology. And the libraries are responding. Your library directors, your librarians have embraced new ways of engaging their audience, and it really is becoming quite an amazing development all over the country.
But you're sort of merging the work that you do on libraries with the work that you do in this sort of federal landmark space by your new project, which is working on the Martin Luther King Library here in Washington, D.C., which is the sort of Mies van der Rohe building. Tell me a little bit about how it has been to work on restoring this sort of underrated landmark in town, and tell me about what that project is shaping up to be.
Well, our client for the branch libraries has invited us to continue to work with them. We're very honored to do so. There are lots of architects in Washington, D.C., so they came back to us to help them. And as I understand it, this is Mies van der Rohe's last commission and the only one in Washington, D.C. And so we are charged with a couple of different goals here to restore the building, because there are challenges with the envelope over the years, water infiltration, air infiltration. And so just to bring that envelope back to perform the way it should is one thing, and honoring the architecture and the detailing of this, it's an historic building now. It's modern. It was built in the 70s, but it's historic now. So that's part of it. And then the building was originally designed to allow for expansion vertically. So we're exploring ways of expanding the building, repurposing it, and helping the library system understand the limitations and the opportunities for using this landmark facility.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited to see it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for the
taking
invitation.
the time to speak with us, and we look forward to seeing what comes next.
I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.